Welcome to another MTGMoxBox video, your destination for Magic the Gathering box breaks and more. If you like what we do, please support us by participating in our box breaks. You can find us on our website, MTGMoxBox.com, or through our listings on eBay under seller handle MTGMoxBox. You can also find us on social media in the links in the description below, and watch us play Magic on Twitch under MTGMoxBox. Finally, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment to let us know what you think. In this Commander Pageant video series, we highlight commanders that we personally picked and talk about how we would build a deck around them.
We will talk about a theme or win strategy to build around, and we will highlight several cards from more recent sets that will support these strategies.
These are not fully built decks, just a general framework to build upon for brainstorming deck ideas.
Welcome to another episode of Commander Pageant. Today we'll be picking out commanders from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. This is Tony. Today I've picked Vadrik, Astral Archmage.
And this is Joseph. I picked out Adeline, Resplendent Cathar.
And this is Lawrence. I picked out Slogurk, the Overslime.
Vadrik, Astral Archmage is a 1/2 legendary human wizard with CMC 1 blue-red. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as Vadrik enters the battlefield. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is Vadrik's power. And whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, put a +1/+1 counter on Vadrik. Alright, so Vadrik is the latest Izzet commander with Spell Slinger themed abilities, paired with the day-night mechanic that's introduced in Midnight Hunt. I like that he makes instant and sorceries cheaper to cast by an amount that scales with his power, so his effect can basically become enormous if left alone. And if you build a deck around this general, instant and sorceries will be your bread and butter. And Midnight Hunt adds a couple interesting options, including Burn Down the House, Vivisection, and Lunar Frenzy. So Burn Down the House, I think I talked about this in my in the top 2 video. It's either a wipe of 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker, or creating 3 1/1 red devil creatures tokens, where when it dies, it deals 1 damage to any target, and they gain haste until end of turn. So just having this cost cheaper than the 5 CMC casting cost is very helpful. Vivisection allows you to draw cards by sacrificing creatures, so that kind of works with Burn Down the House. And then again, if you have to pay anything less than 3 in blue, that's just a good deal. Lunar Frenzy is an instant, an X spell instant, where it pumps up the creature +X+0, gives a first strike and trample until end of turn. So if you can use this on Vadrik's, you can actually make him more powerful and make any other instant or sorcery spells you cast after this cheaper as well. So I thought those were good starts or good additions. Then there's various of cards that have been introduced that support Spellslinger decks, and want to include some of these redundancies in case Vadrik gets removed. So a couple of these are Cloud Key, Jace's Sanctum, or Storm Skrillex, and Goblin Electromancer. They offer similar benefits if you can fit them in, so they each can make instants or sorceries less to cast. So you can stack these on top of Vadrik's. That way, if Vadrik's dies or comes back has a weaker power, if you have all these on the battlefield still, your spells become a lot less to cast. In addition, so during the game, while setting up for your win, you'll need to dig through your library for solutions. So I like cards like Tezzer's Gambit, Frantic Search, or Epic Experiment to kind of dig through and find cards. Tezzer's Gambit is nice because it's 3 and Phyrexian blue, so you can play either 3 and blue mana or 2 life, and you draw 2 cards and proliferate. The proliferate comes in handy here if Vadrik's already has like a +1/+1 counter on it, so you can make it more powerful at the same time. Frantic Search is usually an auto include because it basically untaps your lands, allows you to cast more spells after you draw and discard cards. An Epic Experiment allows you to look for cards on top of your library and cast instant and sorcery spells with mana value X or less without paying their mana cost. So in this kind of deck, you should be able to find a lot of hits that work with that spell. And then finally, in the end game, if everything's gone well, you should be able to cast out some splashy high CMC spells to kind of clinch the game. And since this was recently unbanned, Worldfire definitely deserves a mention here. If you can get Vadrik's power up to 6, you can pair with something like Dragon's Approach to win, and you'll only pay 4 red mana to be able to do that. Other popular options include Insurrection and Expropriate, if you want to cast those out. What do you guys think?
I think it's fully powerful if you let your commander go out of control and have high power. And I would just like to add from Strixhaven, solve the equation for which will allow you to tutor for an instant or sorcery, potentially for just 1 blue mana. And I'm surprised you didn't include the one-side board wipe Cyclonic Rift from Double Masters, which again will only cost 1 blue mana if you get Vadrik's power up to 6. Maybe it's too evil.
Maybe it is. Although I have to look at the rules to see if the overload cost, does that...
That counts as casting cost.
It counts as casting cost?
Yeah, because you're casting it for 6 and a blue.
So same with flashback cost then, because I didn't know how that was going to be handled.
Yeah, I think that works.
If it works, then yeah, I'd definitely look into it.
Because in that case, you might even consider stuff you can buy back.
Oh, you're right.
Flashbacks, right?
No, buyback. Just straight buyback.
So you just repeat spells.
Yep. So I would consider adding Component Collector, which is also from Innistrad, Midnight Hunt, and also the Celestis. Using the Celestis to change between day and night allows you to add +1/+1 counters on Vadrik. When you change between day and night, you can use the Component Collector to untap the Celestis. So as long as you have enough mana to spare, you can add a little more muscle onto Vadrik and make your spells cheaper to cast. There's also the Ozolith from Ikoria. Nice compliment to Vadrik. In case something happens to it, your commander gets removed, you can save up all these +1/+1 counters and wait to put it back on Vadrik again. So you'll instantly get the benefit again.
Nice.
Yep, so those are the things I would recommend adding. Alright, so this is Joseph. The one I picked is Adeline Resplendent Cathar. It's a legendary human knight, star 4. It's 1 colorless and 2 white to cast. It has vigilance. Its power is equal to the number of creatures you control. And whenever you attack for each opponent, create a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. So I would like to build this into a white weenie creature or creature token deck, buff them with enchantments or equipments, and go wide. The wider you go, the stronger Adeline can get, since her power is based on the number of creatures you control. There are many white weenie creatures to choose from. I picked a few that are weenie, of course, and also have some benefits to the controller as the game goes on, such as Loyal Warhound. It was from Adventures into the Forgotten Realm, and also Containment Priest, which is from Time Spiral Remaster. White Mane Lion, which is from Time Spiral Remaster, and also Expedition Healer, which is from Zendikar Rising. So the Loyal Warhound, it's a 1 colorless white to cast vigilant dog. Enters the battlefield, opponent controls more lands than you. You may search the library for a basic plains, so it helps you ramp. The Containment Priest as Flash, if a non-token creature will enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exiled instead. So it helps with creature control against your opponents. White Mane Lion, again, 1 colorless, 1 white to cast as a Flash. Enters the battlefield, return the creature you control to its owner's hand. And then, of course, there's the last one, Expedition Healer. It's 1 colorless, 1 white to cast. It has Vigilance, and as long as you have another cleric and you control another cleric, it has Lifelink. On top of weenie creatures, I might want to consider cards that can generate creature tokens. Again, I want to go wide for Adeline's benefit, and also take advantage of any enchantment buffs, which I will get to in a bit. Here are some examples of creature token cards I would consider, such as Leonin War Leader, which is from M19, Custody Soulbinder from Innistrad, and also Clarion Spirit, which is from Kaldheim. Leonin War Leader, it's 2 colorless, 2 white. Whenever it attacks, you create 2 1/1 white cat creature token with lifelink that are tapped and attacking. So that's just generating additional tokens, creatures, as you attack. Custody Stowbinders, 3 colorless, 1 white human cleric. Enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of other creatures on the battlefield. You can pay 2 and a white and remove a +1/+1 counter from Custody and create a white spirit creature token with flying. And the last one is Clarion Spirit, 1 colorless, 1 white. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So these are just ways to generate additional tokens and creatures to make your Adeline even bigger. And as I mentioned, going wide would benefit Adeline, but I also want to be able to win with my mass winning creature tokens, and they can definitely benefit with additional muscle. And here are some examples of buff enchantments I would consider, such as Philidar Retreat is from Zendikar Rising, Cathar's Crusade from Jumpstart, Glorious Anthem, which is a staple for a lot of these enchantment type of decks. From latest is from M21, and Intrepid Adversary. I believe we mentioned this in our top 2.
Oh, yeah.
Felidar Retreat. It's a 3 to cast, 1 white enchantment. It has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you can either create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. So you can either take advantage of this enchantment to create additional tokens or buff them. Cathar's Crusade is 3 colorless, 2 white. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Again, making your creatures fattier. And then Glorious Anthem, which is 1 colorless, 2 white. Creatures you control gets +1/+1. And lastly, it's Intrepid Adversary, 1 colorless, 1 white. It's a creature, actually, not enchantment. Human Scout, it has lifelink. Whenever Intrepid Adversary enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 colorless, 1 white any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many valor counters on Intrepid Adversary. Creatures you control gets +1/+1 for each valor counter on Intrepid Adversary. And some equipments that might help with this deck strategy as well, such as Konda's Banner, is from Champion of Kamigawa. Is that?
Yeah,
that's the set.
Kamigawa.
Yeah. Mace of the Valiant. I believe this was like from Throne of Eldraine, and Skull Clamp, which is last reprint was from Mystery Booster. Konda's Banner, 2 to cast. Its equipment can be attached only to a legendary creature. Creatures that share a color with the equipped creature gets +1/+1. Creature that share a creature type with equipped creature gets +1/+1. Mace of the Valiant, 2 to cast, 1 white. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Mace of the Valiant and has vigilance. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a charge counter on Mace of the Valiant. And Skull Clamp, of course, sure everyone knows about this one. 1 to cast, equipped creature gets +1/-1. Equipped creature is put into a graveyard, draw 2 cards, so it helps you with card draw. So hopefully that'll speed up the process to find out what I need to overwhelm my opponent. Anything you guys would like to add?
Yeah, I would add Sword of the Meek from Double Masters. You can attach it to any of the 1/1 weenie creatures that you talked about. Then you don't care if it dies because whenever a 1/1 creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can return the sword back from the graveyard to your battlefield and attach it to a new 1/1 creature. Another thing to help your weenie creatures is an enchantment called Intangible Virtue from Time Spiral Remastered. Its creature tokens you control gets +1/+1 and have vigilance. So nice. It's only 1 white to cast, so it's pretty cheap for pretty good value.
Nice. Since it's a white deck, always take advantage of vigilance, right?
Yeah.
Yep, so to lean into your go white strategy, I was able to find a few cards that were similar to Adeline. I like to build decks with a little bit of redundancy just in case something gets removed. So I found Crusader of Odric that was recently reprinted in Double Masters at Common. Could be a way to get a giant creature onto your board for cheap because it basically has the same ability where its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. Let's see. Angelic Exaltation is an enchantment from Ravnica Allegiance that allows you to switch to a gold tall strategy in case you didn't want to risk your weenies by instead buffing a creature by X, where X is equal to, I think, the number of creatures that you have, if it is your only declared attacker. I think this also works well with Adeline's ability, because Adeline's ability creates human tokens that are tapped and attacking, but because they were never declared as attackers, I think it doesn't disqualify that buff from the enchantment. So that's worth looking into. And then finally, I found one more card that's really similar to Adeline, and that is Silverwing Squadron from Throne of Eldraine. It's a little bit more costly at 6 CMC, but it has evasion in the form of flying, and knowing how many dragons we have to battle against could turn out to be a lifesaver.
Cool, thanks.
All right, this is Lawrence, and I picked Slogurk the Overslime. He's a legendary creature, Ooze, has trample. Whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on Slogurk, the Overslime. Remove 3 +1/+1 counters from Slogurk. Return it to its owner's hand. And when Slogurk leaves the battlefield, return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. He costs 1 and green and blue. It's a 3/3 creature. So I like this Ooze commander a lot. Normally I don't like Ooze. It's packed with multiple abilities at such a low casting cost. My strategy to build this deck is to power up Slogurk with +1/+1 counters using graveyard land recursion. And once your commander gets big enough, just use it to swing your opponents because it has trample. And if it doesn't work, you can always include some of the landfall cards to back it up. So let's set up the land recursion part first. Try to use Ancient Green Warden from Zendikar Rising. For green, Elemental Reach, you can play cards from your graveyard. If a land enters the battlefield, costs a trigger ability of a permanent you control to trigger. It triggers twice. Crucible of Worlds from M19. You can play land cards from your graveyard. And then Ramanap Exterminator. So it's a cleric. You can play land cards from your graveyard as well. 2 green, and that's from Commander Legends. Then you can run fetch lands, but not the expensive ones. You can run cheap ones like Evolving Wilds from Midnight Hunt, Fable Passage from Core 21, or Terramorphic Expanse from Time Spiral Remastered. And once you crack them, they're in your graveyard, but you can still play them, so you can play them every turn to find the lands you need. Now, you don't need to worry about your lands going to the graveyard anymore. You'll want to maximize the number of lands that you can play each turn, like AC, Tyrant of Gyre Strait from Commander Legends. It's a serpent that lets you play an additional land on each of your turns. And when a land ETBs, you can draw a card, so double the benefit. Azusa, Lost but Seeking from M21, you can play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. Or Oracle of Mudaya from Jumpstart. Again, you can play additional land on each of your turn. Play with the top card of your library revealed. And you can play lands from the top of your library. And there's always Exploration from Double Masters, enchantment that lets you play additional land on each of your turn, as well as Courser of Krupix from Time Spiral Remastered that lets you play the top card as well. And when land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So a lot of those will let you ramp, let you have landfall triggers, and if that doesn't pop up Slogurk enough, you can also add Sword of the Animus from Adventures in Forgotten Realms. Hardened Scales from Commander 2016, so this one's a little bit older, but it's only 1 mana. Blanchwood Armor from Core 2019, which enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. And then you also, to save all the counters that you saved up from Slogurk, like Joseph mentioned before, you can also use the Ozolith from Ikoria here as well. So don't forget about the landfall cards. As I mentioned last time, Suit Swarm is still one of the best. Rampaging Balefs from Core 2021. It's also very useful. Even Titania, Protector of Argoth from Modern Horizons 2, which gives you a 5/3 creature whenever you put lands in the graveyard, will work perfectly here. Any ideas to what to add, you guys?
Since you have blue, and I love blue, always like trade routes. I think the last time they reprinted this one was in 9th edition, but it's also on the list. There's also Tatyova Bendik Druid from Mystery Booster, Blighted Woodland, and also Myriad Landscape. These both are reprinted in Innistrad, Midnight Hunt. Trade Route allows you to pay 1 to return a land back to your hand. So good to trigger landfall again if you don't have any lands in your hand. You can also pay 1 to discard a land and draw a card that gives you a card draw, and also trigger Slogurk's ability, since it says whenever a land is put into your graveyard from anywhere. And that allows you, I think you have some graveyard recursion to bring the land back, so it's perfect. You get to draw a card and also put a +1/+1 counter. Tatyova Bendrik Druid, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Seems to have incredible synergy in a land deck, since you can continue to draw and hopefully you get more lands in your hand. The 2 basic fetch lands allows you to put 2 basic land cards into play tap, so basically trigger landfall additional, 1 additional time, and then you still have that land going to the graveyard, so it seems like it's a perfect fit for your strategy.
Yeah, Slogurk is really interesting. I think I didn't realize it, but when I was reading through what you were putting together, it sounds like the ability will also allow them to get bigger if lands get milled into your graveyard, but that would require a completely different deck composition. But worth exploring as well. For your strategy with landfall and land recursion, some of the cards you can consider adding are Oboro, Palace in the Clouds from Saviors of Kamigawa, and Zurum Orb, which was recently reprinted in Modern Horizons 2. So Oboro is a lot like trade routes. If you're tight on space, you can just basically replace one of your islands with it. It's gotten really expensive recently though, so it might be better to wait for a reprint on that one. But basically, that one allows it to return itself to your hand to re-trigger landfall over and over again. Zurum Orb is of course one of my favorite ways of getting lands into graveyards fast. And in this deck, it can even be the finishing blow if you play it, right? If you can swing with Slogurk and then you sack all your lands.
And you gain life.
And you gain life, and
great.
yeah, you're pumping up Slogurk at the same time. So finally, I have one more card that I wanted to bring up that I have in my Modrotha deck, but I haven't played it ever yet in a game, and that's Natural Balance from Mirage. This card's a little controversial because it can be seen as a mass land destruction. So if your playgroup is a little sensitive to that, you should probably discuss it with them first. However, I think it's a little bit less oppressive than something like Armageddon, since it leaves players with 5 lands instead of 0. And if players have less than 5 lands, they actually ramp up to 5. So it's kind of like an equalizer. But I think it fits really well into this deck because not only are you slowing your opponents down if they have more than 5 lands, you're putting lands into your graveyard and making Slogurk bigger. And if you have less than 5 lands, because maybe you fed them to Zero Orb, you can get up to 5 landfall triggers off of this one spell.
Yeah, that can end the game.
Yep. So very interesting card that has a very niche use, but
yeah,
might be a good fit here.
There's one card I didn't put in here. It's a stupid combo. Like, it basically lets you self-mill until you find a basic land.
Oh, is it the Hermit Druid?
Yeah, it's the Hermit Druid. It's like, so just put non-basic land in your deck and then just self-mill all your lands and then you win.
Yeah, I can see that being
But yeah, good ideas about the self-mill. It's definitely dangerous.
Actually, since you're bringing up about destroying land, I actually thought of another card I used to use for my land destruction deck, Kudzu.
Oh, yeah.
It's an aura enchantment, enchant land. Whatever enchanted land becomes tapped, destroy it. That land's controller attaches Kudzu to a land of his or her choice. So it's almost like you can use it to kill your own land to trigger Slogurk. But then once you trigger that, you can put it on your opponent's land. So when they use it, they slowly, get less and less land. So it's pretty evil, but it works for your deck.
What the set is that from?
From the original.
Yeah, it's
Alpha Beta.
Alpha Beta, but they did
Oh
get
my God.
reprinted back in they say Masters Edition 4, Summer Magic Edgar type of thing. So they did reprint it.
It's been a
yeah.
while. It's a very, very, very narrow card.
Yeah, because I don't think it sees a lot of play, but
Yeah,
it might work
exactly.
for your deck. Yeah.
That's true.
Very interesting.
Well, thanks.
Okay, to recap, Vadrik was a Spells Matter type deck.
Adeline was a token weenie creature go wide deck.
And Slogurk was a landfall recursion and a +1/+1 type deck.
What did you guys think about our deck direction? Would you build them in a different way?
If you liked the video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family, and tell your dog.
If you like box breaks, please check out our past box break videos or join us in our live box breaks.
And if you're curious about price trends of singles from recent sets, check out our Price Monitor series from our channel.
Hey everybody, just want to go over our inventory really quickly. For Midnight Hunt, we still have boxes. For our draft, we have 4 slots left. Set, we have 6 slots left. And collector, we have 5 slots left. For the Time Star Remaster box, we still have 4 slots left. And for a Commander Legends draft box and a Modern Horizons 2 set box, we have 7 slots left. And now let's do the giveaway. So our question this time from the last video was, which of the art card would you be interested in? So let's see what we get. 13 comments. Good luck, everybody. Nariku. I like the Teferi art card. It's also really fun with Strixhaven Stadium. Yes, definitely. So congratulations. And yeah, just enter the giveaway again with the question this time was, what do you think of our deck directions? Would you build them in a different way for our Commander Pageant? All right, good luck everybody.